Right now, in the spring of 2026, Iran is a nation in flames. Some of those fires were lit from the inside by internal protesters fighting desperately against an authoritarian and oppressive regime. Other flames were ignited from above, lit by the relentless payloads of bombs dropped by American and Israeli airplanes. Officially, these airstrikes seek to overthrow that exact same regime, but many geopolitical analysts argue that these foreign powers have their own strategic interests in the region too, with the infrastructure already heavily damaged from the ongoing war and the central government struggling to maintain control. The future is incredibly uncertain. But what if the regime actually did fall tomorrow? And what if, when the smoke cleared, the very unity of Iran as a single, cohesive nation collapsed right alongside it? You imagine waking up, checking the news, and seeing global headlines declaring that the Islamic Republic of Iran no longer exists, and in its place is a fractured, chaotic map. Local authorities might begin asserting hard power over their own isolated regions in this hypothetical scenario, and as you will see, it is a highly complex one. One terrifying geopolitical question immediately emerges. Could Iran actually break apart into several entirely different countries? Welcome back to US Geography. Today we are looking at the ultimate geographic doomsday scenario for the Middle East, exploring the fault lines of a nation of 90 million people, and mapping out what a balkanized Iran would actually look like. To understand how Iran could break apart, you first have to look at who actually lives there. On a standard political map today, Iran appears as a massive, cohesive state. It boasts a population of roughly 90 million people and wields a fiercely strong historical identity that stretches back over millennia, outlasting countless different empires and dynasties. But beneath that unified surface lies an incredibly diverse, geographically segregated country. Within its mountainous borders live Persians, Azerbaijanis, Kurds, Arabs, Balochs, Lurs, Turkmen, and several other distinct ethnic groups. Most of these groups speak completely different languages or unique dialects. Many inhabit their own historical geographic regions, practice different religions, and several possess deep cross-border connections with ethnic relatives living in neighboring countries. If the Iranian state were to completely lose its administrative ability to hold the country together due to the 2026 war, these distinct geographic regions could theoretically emerge as separate political entities. In one extreme, hypothetical scenario, the map of Iran could fragment into 7 brand new states: Persia, or Iran proper, South Azerbaijan, Kurdistan, Ahwaz, Balochistan, Luristan, and Turkmen Sahra. But before we draw these new borders, we have to acknowledge a fundamental geographic and historical reality. Unlike a country like Yugoslavia, which was a relatively recent construct created after the First World War without much historical pre-context, Iran is completely different. Yugoslavia violently broke apart in the 1990s along ethnic lines, but Iran is arguably one of the best historical examples of a multi-ethnic society successfully building a shared national identity. The idea of being Iranian has survived invasions, religious revolutions, and dynastic collapses for thousands of years. Let's start mapping the breakaway regions, beginning with the geographic and cultural core of the country, Iran proper, which we could hypothetically call Persia. While Persia was historically a Western exonym and the nation has been known internally as Iran for centuries, in this regime change scenario, a new modern Persia would likely emerge as the largest successor state. This state would be the most closely associated with the historical Iranian identity. Geographically, it would include the Persian majority regions dominating the central plateaus and southern regions, encompassing major historic cities like Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Yazd, and Mashhad. Demographically, Persians make up roughly half to 60% of Iran's current population, depending on the estimate. The Persian language, Farsi, is the official language and serves as the ultimate cultural glue connecting the country. If the map shattered, this new Persian state would likely inherit most of the previous regime's institutions, its massive bureaucracy, and its international diplomatic recognition. Territorially, this new Persia would occupy about half of Iran's current land area, covering an estimated 800,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Texas and Oklahoma combined. It would hold a population somewhere between 45 and 50 million people. Moving to the rugged, mountainous northwest of the country, we find a massive Azerbaijani population. This region is home to an estimated 15 to 20 million people. Geographically, there are actually more ethnic Azerbaijanis living inside the borders of northern Iran than there are inside the independent Republic of Azerbaijan to the north. This potential breakaway state, often referred to as South Azerbaijan, includes provinces like East Azerbaijan, West Azerbaijan, and Ardabil, anchored by major urban centers like the city of Tabriz. The people here speak a Turkish language closely related to the one spoken across the northern border. Historically, this region has been deeply integrated into Iranian political life. In fact, the former supreme leader Ali Khamenei has an Azerbaijani family background. If central authority collapsed, South Azerbaijan might declare independence, creating a state of 15 to 20 million people, covering roughly 150,000 square kilometers. They could adopt a tricolor flag of blue, red, and green, and face the immediate geopolitical question of whether to remain independent or merge with the Republic of Azerbaijan. Further to the northeast, along the border with Turkmenistan, lies another potential breakaway region, Turkmen Sahra. The Turkmen people here share deep cultural ties and a nomadic horse culture with the broader Turkish populations of Central Asia. They are mostly Sunni Muslims, and their population inside Iran is relatively small, estimated at perhaps 1 to 2 million people. A hypothetical Turkmen Sahra state would be the absolute smallest of these 7 successor states in both territory and population. And might seek to align or merge closely with neighboring Turkmenistan. If we move westward along the map, we hit the towering, impenetrable Zagros Mountains bordering Iraq and Turkey. This is Iranian Kurdistan. The Kurds are famously one of the largest stateless ethnic groups in the entire world, with populations spread across the mountainous borders of Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. Inside Iran, the Kurdish population numbers between 8 and 10 million people. They inhabit provinces like Kurdistan, Kermanshah, and parts of West Azerbaijan. In the context of the 2026 war, this region is a massive geopolitical flashpoint. News stories are already circulating that the Pentagon actively wants to arm Iranian Kurds to rise up against the government in Tehran, mimicking the strategy the US used in Syria. Unlike Iraqi Kurdistan, which operates with a high degree of autonomy, its own military forces, and a regional parliament, Iranian Kurdistan is administered directly and heavily by Tehran, with very limited regional autonomy. Historically, Kurdish rebellions here have occurred periodically, most notably the Soviet-backed Republic of Mahabad in 1946, which lasted less than a single year before being violently reabsorbed by Iranian forces. If Iran fractured today, a new Iranian Kurdistan could emerge, carving out a heavily fortified mountainous territory of around 100,000 square kilometers. With 8 to 10 million people, they would likely fly the red, white, and green flag with the golden Kurdish sun and immediately seek coordination with Iraqi Kurdistan. But a mountain fortress is nothing without an economy, and that brings us to the southwest, to the flat plains bordering Iraq and the Persian Gulf. This is Ahwaz, primarily located in the Khuzestan province. This region is completely distinct geographically and culturally because it is an Arab-majority region. It is critical to remember that despite following Islam and being in the Middle East, Iran is not an Arab country. The Arab culture never overtook the Persian one. The Arab communities in Khuzestan have historically had a highly complicated relationship with the central Iranian state, with some groups pushing hard for greater autonomy. If Khuzestan broke away to form the state of Ahwaz, it would be geographically tiny, covering perhaps only 65,000 square kilometers with a population of around 4 to 5 million people. But it would instantly become a geopolitical superpower. Why? Because this specific region contains a massive portion of Iran's oil infrastructure and reserves. An independent Ahwaz could become a super rich microstate overnight, potentially flying a green, white, black, and red flag similar to other Arab nations. It is exactly why this specific flatland is the prime target for American and Israeli airstrikes in 2026. Moving back into the central Zagros Mountains, we find a region that rarely makes international headlines, Luristan. The Lurs are an ethnic group culturally and linguistically related to Persians, but they maintain a fierce, independent regional identity and strong tribal traditions. They number around 4 to 5 million people, inhabiting a mountainous territory of roughly 70,000 to 80,000 square kilometers in provinces like Luristan and parts of Khuzestan. Historically, separatist movements here have been very limited. They are more of a distinct subculture than a breakaway republic, making their independence in a collapse scenario one of the least likely outcomes. However, the exact opposite is true in the far southeast. Welcome to Balochistan. The Iranian Baloch people form part of a massive cultural region that bleeds seamlessly across the border into Pakistan and Afghanistan. This region is geographically enormous, covering roughly 180,000 square kilometers, making it one of the largest potential successor states by land area. Despite its massive size, it is sparsely populated, home to only 2 to 3 million people. The Baloch people here are mostly Sunni Muslims, which deeply differentiates them from the predominantly Shia Iranian state, providing a powerful religious and cultural reason for separation. The region is historically underdeveloped, and if the map shattered, Iranian Balochistan could immediately attempt to unite with Baloch populations in Pakistan, drastically altering the borders of South Asia. If you look at the map of these 7 hypothetical states, you quickly realize that the balkanization of Iran wouldn't just be an Iranian problem, it would be a global geopolitical nightmare. If all these new countries emerged simultaneously, the shockwaves would instantly destabilize every single neighboring state. The Arabs and the Turks absolutely do not want to see a fully independent Kurdistan carved out of Iran, terrified that it could cause a spillover effect within their own borders. Pakistan would face sudden, massive pressure from renewed Balochistan separatist movements seeking to unify the eastern deserts. The Republic of Azerbaijan would have to make the dangerous decision of whether to integrate millions of new citizens to the south. Meanwhile, Russia, the Gulf states, us, and Western powers would aggressively scramble to secure strategic interests and oil rights in the ensuing chaos. While drawing 7 new borders on the map of the Middle East might look logical from a purely ethnic or linguistic perspective, the reality on the ground is infinitely more complicated. Even if the 2026 war completely decimates the current government, there is a massive invisible obstacle to this fragmentation: the Iranian identity itself. Despite its intense ethnic diversity, many of these groups have been deeply integrated into the state for centuries. Azerbaijanis have served as supreme leaders, Kurds participate in national politics, and the Persian language is a widely shared anchor. Iran has spent thousands of years learning exactly how to live with this extreme diversity under a single national identity, and ultimately that shared civilization might be the single strongest force keeping the map of the country together, even in its darkest, most unstable moments. Thank you for watching US Geography. If you want to understand how the map dictates the future of global conflicts, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments if you think Iran's borders will survive the decade. I'll see you again next week.